Welcome to the No Camps Podcast. I'm Sunny G.
I'm Akash.
I'm Jason.
And here on the No Camps Podcast, we discuss a number of film, TV, and other fun topics that we deem appropriate. And today's episode, we'll be doing reboots and remake of Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. But before we get started, guys, I want to ask you guys something. Is this technically a reboot, or is this like a weird sequel? I'm talking about Jurassic World.
Right.
Yeah. It's definitely a sequel in the sense that it doesn't seem to pick up from I was going to say episode 3, Jurassic Park 3.
The Force Awakens sucks.
It makes it non-canon, but it is also a reboot because they're trying to plan like another one or two. There's another one I think coming out next summer
with Chris Pratt, and I think that's already in production.
Yeah, and Bryce Dallas Howard. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, exactly. It's a different storylines, different people. I mean, there's like a reference to it, and it's in the same world, but yeah, I mean, a reboot by definition is just like kickstarting the franchise. That's what this movie's doing. So
yeah,
right. Yeah, so in my opinion, yeah, I consider this a reboot as well, but I was talking to some of our mutual friends and I got some pushback just because it's so self-referential to the predecessor. Like, it references Jurassic Park so many times. I think in spirit, you guys are right. It is technically a reboot, but it's like a reboot sequel. So
yeah,
so
it's like it's dancing on that line.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
in between.
It's interesting, right? I don't know. I mean, off the top of my head, I don't know
what were
any
they
other
saying?
series that does it this way.
Yeah.
So before you guys complain, this falls into our format. So we're doing a reboot and remakes on Jurassic Park and Jurassic World. So
But what were they?
thanks for clearing that up, Akash.
Yeah, anytime. I'm sorry, Jason. What were you saying?
What were they saying? Did they think it was a remake or
no.
a sequel or a reboot?
They, our mutual friends, were arguing that it was a sequel and not a reboot. So, I mean, I could see their point, but
it's a movie sequel, but a Hollywood reboot.
correct.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Yeah. All right, so let's kick it off. I wanted to talk a little bit about our thoughts on Jurassic Park, and then we'll jump to Jurassic World, and then we'll have a little bit of discussion on some of the comparisons and some of the differences and similarities between the films, and wrap it up after that. So I'm going to throw it to Sunny.
All
what
right.
did you think of Jurassic Park?
I own an island off the coast of Costa Rica. I've spent the last 5 years setting up a kind of biological preserve.
What do they got in there? King Kong?
Welcome to Jurassic Park.
Awesome. Loved it. Obviously very biased since we were kids, like 5 or 6 or something when that movie came out.
Mm-hmm.
I remember I had a poster of Jurassic Park, and it was one where like the T-Rex and you could see the other dinosaurs, but I think it was mainly the predators were all just kind of staring out of the poster.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember freaking out and having to take it down when
Right.
that movie came out because I was so fucking terrified. But that's just, that's the kind of deep rooted association I have with that movie. So like I paid to go watch it again in 3D when they re-released it for more money.
It's probably one of the only movies actually worth it.
Yeah.
I saw a remastered version of this film, and 95% of this movie still holds up. It's still so beautiful. The CG is a little rough, but it's filmed in a way that there's so much practical effects that it doesn't rely so heavily on CG, and it doesn't look crappy, like say The Mummy, where I wasn't really convinced at all with the CG in that movie, and that came out 6 years after Jurassic Park, which is crazy. So yeah, Jurassic Park I think came out in '93, and we were all around 4 years old, 4 or 5, and
Yeah.
this is one of the first movies that I saw in the theater, and I remember just shitting my pants when the T-Rex was roaring. But and like you said, Sonny, I tried to take off my nostalgia colored glasses when I watched this movie on the rewatch for this podcast, and man, does this movie still hold up in my opinion. I think a lot of the parts are still so golden. There's a really good character development. You can understand the characters' motivations. They have appropriate reactions to the situations presented, and it's cliche without being cliche. Like, they are these stereotypical characters, but they feel more than just like filler dialogue. Do you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I mean, I think this movie's freaking brilliant. Before we do more of a deep dive, Jason, I want to throw it to you, see what your thoughts were.
Yeah, I mean, this movie is like just a classic movie. I think it was one of the, I don't know if it was the first movie, but it was one of the first movies that I saw in the theater. And yeah, I mean, being your age, yeah, you kind of just shit your pants like, oh my God, this is like a movie experience. And it's still like in my mind, along with, I think, Avatar, honestly. Those are like the two movie experiences that stick out to me, the most. And Jurassic Park is still like, yeah, it still like hits like the core of you. Just watching it over again, like every time I watch it, like takes me back to the theater. And it's like for the exact reasons that you guys were talking about. I mean, you guys hit on like everything. Also, like the score is so incredible. Like the John Williams score, like it is another like character in the movie. It pumps you up. And yeah, like the theme song. Like every time you hear the theme song, we were just talking about it. We've been hearing it everywhere now because. And the truth is, it probably is everywhere, but we didn't think about it until now that we're watching it. And it's just because it's that iconic, It's this mix of special effects with practical effects. I think they do it really brilliantly in this movie. I disagree. I think the CGI holds up. I mean, this movie was made in '93.
Yeah,
I think it still holds up. Yeah, it doesn't detract from the story, or it doesn't take me away. Like when you see the raptor jump on top of the counter in the kitchen. It doesn't take me away from the movie at all. I'm still freaked out by that raptor. So I don't know, the CGI I think still holds up really well, and they do a brilliant job of it is like.
No, I think we're in agreement. I was saying that its CG is even better than The Mummy, which came out in the 90s after.
Yeah, absolutely. But I love the grand scale they give you in this movie. Like when you're driving through the park, the first time you see the Brachiosaurus and just like the scale of everything, and just thinking of the park and the park being this whole island. I thought that was like really cool. And in the movie, it really like brings you into the story, and you really follow these characters. Really invest. Yeah, I love this movie.
I want to take a moment and let's discuss the characters in this movie. Every character is so believable, right? Like the archaeologists actually behave like scientists, would behave when they see like a dinosaur, like something they've been intrigued with their whole life, and they're seeing it like in person. That reaction scene when they see the brontosauruses for the first time, I think is one of the most iconic scenes in film.
For sure.
And like I loved how they questioned Hammond when he first presented them the idea of bringing back dinosaurs, and they're like, they were extinct for a reason. We shouldn't be bringing them back, and like they actually push back rather than just go along with this crazy journey. You know what I mean? They're actually intelligent characters who all serve a purpose in this movie, which is why this is like a classic Spielberg film. It's just every single aspect is thought out, and it's not rushed, and it doesn't seem like wasted dialogue or even wasted character development, which, I mean, don't want to jump ahead, but we can't say that at all for Jurassic World, which is some mishmash of absolute shit. So,
but you're like the scientists in this movie. You're so right. Like that was something that really stuck out. They were like very curious, and then they were like excited, and they were skeptical, and it was just like, yeah, it was exactly how you would think a real scientist or a real like paleontologist would react when they see a real dinosaur. And like you say, you know, to already compare it to Jurassic World, it's just like, I don't believe any of those people knew jack shit about genetics or dinosaurs or any of that. You know, so it was cool.
Especially that I like how they were discussing the idea that dinosaurs kind of were had feathers, you know, based on some of their skeletal remains and things like that. I would think they were kind of really pushing that kind of line of thinking when this movie came out, and it was really interesting to see that.
Yeah, apparently even the idea that dinosaurs evolved into birds or birds evolved from dinosaurs was like an idea that hadn't reached scientific consensus at the time.
Right.
So they were just throwing that idea out there as well, right?
That was kind of like the far-fetched element of the movie, that they were birds. Now it's confirmed.
What did you guys think about Goldblum's character?
Iconic.
Yeah, like what a charismatic asshole, you know? Like what a prick, but he's so awesome at the same time. He's great.
He's such a suave scientist. Like when he was doing the whole part where he was talking to Ellie about the chaos theory and dropping the water on her hand, he's like using that as an opportunity to hold her hand and like really get into those.
Every line of his was a quip of some kind. Like there was like very, very few serious deliveries by Jeff Goldblum in this movie.
Yeah,
it was awesome.
I mean, let's continue to fawn over the amazing characters. I mean, Newman, also known as Nendry in this. Oh my God. The absolute stereotype for the slob computer scientist.
Yeah.
You know?
You didn't say the magic word.
It's great.
Speaking of scientists.
The lawyer, dude. The lawyer even he was great, man.
Skeezy lawyer. Like all I thought about was just money and how to profit off Jurassic Park.
Yeah, and then he left the kids.
Yeah.
He didn't give a fuck. He left us.
He left us.
And speaking of the kids, goodness, talk about great acting from the both of them, man. Super likable, very believable, especially the little kid's enthusiasm about wanting to learn more about dinosaurs, and he meets his idol. He just like grilling him with questions about his book, and I think it's very cute and adorable.
No, and even then their characters played like a mutually beneficial purpose with the rest of their story. Like she conveniently was like a Unix hacker, right? In her own words. Which they obviously needed at the end of the movie. And he just kind of knew about dinosaurs, so he wasn't just sticking out like a sore thumb. Right. And just kind of going along for the ride, which is exactly who we got in the kids in Jurassic World. We'll talk about that later.
And before we move on from, our character discussion, I want to bring up one character that was really interesting, and that was Samuel L. Jackson.
How did I know? That's who you're going to say.
Did you think it was in the script for him to be smoking a cigarette, or do you think he brought that to the movie? I feel like that's a very Samuel L. Jackson thing.
It's the line, hold on to your butts. How is he not supposed to be smoking in that movie?
Yeah, and it's punny because he's smoking cigarettes.
Yeah. Hold on to your butts. Yeah.
Yeah. Great characters. Great. Sorry. I did want to talk about Hammond. I thought the role of the over-enthusiastic, zealous entrepreneur was done perfectly. It wasn't over the top. It was just enough to where you could buy it, and you could see the passion that he had. I mean, the man constantly repeats, "We spared no expense."
Spared no expense.
Yeah, spared no expense.
Which is quite golden. All right, let's move on. Any of the action scenes in this movie? There's plenty. I mean, I think that makes this movie, right? Like, I mean, the first one that comes to mind is when we first see the T-Rex, which is quite epic.
Yeah, you mean when they're attacking the car when he breaks through the fence?
Yeah,
it's so cool. I mean, you get introduced by him he's the first glimpse of him. He's chowing down on a goat, so right away he's just like he's a predator.
I love how there's just no music. It's just rain, and then terror. Right.
Oh, and don't forget
what the fuck is going on.
The build up to it with the water, iconic scene with the water shaking, trembling from his footsteps. I mean, that was
and the intelligence of the T-Rex to like check out the electric fence. You see his like little claws touch it to see if it's still active, and he finds out like, this is my time to get the hell out of here, and he does.
To bounce, yeah.
And going from that scene, I really enjoyed the part with the car and what's the kid's name? Man,
Tim?
is it Timmy? Yeah, he gets stuck in the car inside the tree, and then they're escaping that. And I thought that was really very tense and suspenseful. It was really well done.
I think the only scene that doesn't really hold up is the scene where they're climbing down the tree instead of around the tree.
Yeah,
To
just
get out
to
of
the
the
side. Yeah.
All right. Anything else on that? I mean, hold up. I think it's important to note that this is more of like a horror movie, right? Than an action movie. It has got like a lot of horror elements. Like the movie starts with them introducing us to the Velociraptor. I mean, we don't know it's a Velociraptor when they first show us, but we just see a beast inside a cage, and someone gets eaten like brutally, and it's like very scary. You don't know what's happening, what's behind that, and the whole movie is very suspenseful and builds around that. And it does it very
It's
well.
definitely a PG-13 horror movie.
Exactly.
As opposed to like, an action movie, like you said.
Right. I mean, I think it's kind of like, Alien was rated R, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah. I guess it's kind of like in that vein where it's like, like a monster chasing the humans around. But
They really like
pioneered. Sorry, it pioneered the whole getting chased by little creatures motif that we see all the time, right? We saw it again in Godzilla. Then what? You see it like in almost all of, not all of them, but a lot of these comic book movies and a lot of other kind of horror movies where you just sicking a bunch of little CGI creatures after some protagonist,
Right.
I don't know. I feel like horror movies suck. So I don't want to like put this as a horror movie because that like demotes it. I don't know. It feels like a terrible label to put this as like a horror movie. There's like too much character development. There's like a lot of really good foreshadowing. Like, the first like 15 minutes is just kind of like riddled in foreshadowing. Like finding the mosquito and like that second opening scene or the second scene. Like you don't know like the significance of the mosquito until you find out later. And you see Grant talking about the raptor and how the raptor is attacking, and then you see them actually, explore that later. You talk about like Nedry, and that he said like, "Oh, I got an 18-minute window to get things off the island."
Right.
So you kind of find that out. Remember the belt scene? Oh, this is actually one of my favorite scenes in the movie. The belt scene when they're in the helicopter, and Grant like has like two of the female ends of the seatbelt, and he ties them together.
Life finds a way.
Yeah, yeah. It's like definitely a little overplayed now, but it was a great scene. So I don't want to put that in like, I don't know. I feel like horror movies are just like senseless, stupid monsters. This is like about a park and monsters escape. It's kind of weird to put it in like a horror. I don't know. I
mean, that's just what the genre has been reduced to. But good horror movies like make you feel genuinely scared. And I don't remember. Again, probably because we're kids and like our brains have been permanently scarred by how great this movie was. I can't remember being that scared about shit in a movie in a long time.
Except for It.
This new It was whatever.
Not the new one, the old one. The old one scared the shit out of me, but I mean, I digress.
Well, I mean, depending on when you watch it. I only watched it just a year ago, so.
Okay.
The movie's it's great. It's like, what else can you say about it that hasn't been said?
Exactly.
And if it hasn't been said, like what everybody already kind of knows, it's just
100%.
Every scene is iconic, man. Every single scene I feel like is iconic, and I know every scene. There's no scene that I forget about. Like I know every scene.
Yeah, I mean, I guess we failed to mention the kitchen scene, which is probably one of the best scenes. I mean, in the entire movie, with the kids being chased by the raptors, and then them crawling through the vents, and then
Yeah.
the final
tricking him.
T-Rex coming in.
Yeah.
You know, it's weird because it's T-Rex essentially kind of saves the day in this movie, and that kind of becomes a recurrent theme in the whole series. I think like the T-Rex is kind of made into the, I guess, the anti-hero sort of. He somehow always shows up when the humans need him, and then
Yeah, but he's not saving him in this movie. I mean, he saved him, but he's not like, that's not a motivation. Like it feels like in Jurassic World, there's like a motivate. These animals somehow have developed consciousness in this next world, but yeah, it was just like it was a byproduct. They got the fuck out as soon as a T-Rex came in. They weren't just standing there on the sidelines in the next one in Jurassic World, just like watching all of this go down.
All right. Before we move on, I just have one nitpick with this movie. At the beginning of the movie, when Grant and Ellie are at the dig site, there's a kid on the dig site. What the hell is he doing there?
Yeah,
like why is he?
Why is being a prick too? It's not a big deal. Like,
where are the kid's parents?
Yeah. Why is
to
he
tell
there,
tell him to be respectful, so Grant doesn't have to scare the shit out of him. Tell him.
It's like going to the zoo and being like, "What the fuck's up with these monkeys? These monkeys suck." Like, well, why are you at the zoo? Go home. What are you doing there?
Yeah. I mean, it's zoos understandable. Like kids would be there on a field trip, but what's this kid doing at a dig site? You know, it's out of place. Right.
Oh, actually, all right. I do want to mention this. I really like the way the little movie that they played.
Oh
yeah. Little DNA movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, first off, it gives us that line, you know, that bingo, dino, DNA. I love that line.
Dinosaurs.
Yeah, dinosaurs. Yeah, if it was just for those, I love that scene. But I think it's a really, really cool way to explain to the audience what's going on too. It's just like a bunch of exposition in a way, but it's given in a really fun way. It just tells you
exactly
how we got to this point, and it doesn't come off as like boring. You know, it comes off, and it's part of the story. It's believable in the story. You would have to tell your guests this the same way. You have to educate them how dinosaurs are here the same way you have to educate the audience of this movie. So I thought that was like a really brilliant
right. I mean, sequence. It's because you're learning with the characters, right? It's like an interactive movie, and you're sitting there with them just as they are, and you're learning with them, and it's just done really well. Like I think any other movie would have botched it, but like this movie does that in such a
like non-cliched.
Yeah, non-cliched way, right?
Yeah, but I do have to say this scene also exposes some serious like security flaws at Jurassic Park. The three adults in one row can decide to stop this ride and just remove the little barricade, and then later, like while they're trotting through a dinosaur country, they can just get right out of their cars. So I feel like, yeah, there's still got a lot to learn at Jurassic Park.
All right, I guess if we have no more thoughts, let's shit on Jurassic. I mean, let's talk about Jurassic World.
I'm really proud of you for going on this trip. You're gonna have so much fun. And remember, if something chases you, run.
We have learned more in the past decade from genetics than a century of digging up bones. A whole new frontier has opened up. We have our first genetically modified hybrid.
You just went and made a new dinosaur?
Probably not a good idea. Almost 40 feet high. Really think she climbed out?
Depends.
On what?
What kind of dinosaur they cooked up in that lab.
So guys, Jurassic World, I'm not sure who this is directed by, but I just know it stars Chris Pratt and Dallas
Howard.
Dallas
Howard.
Ron Howard's data.
Oh, that's Ron Howard's daughter? No way.
Yeah.
Okay. Son of a bitch. So guys, let's start with Jason on this. What do you think of this movie?
Man, I do not like this movie. I liked it when I saw it in the theaters. It was like entertaining, and it kind of fed my like craving to see another Jurassic Park. And I think that was the whole purpose of this movie, and they cashed in hardcore on that sentiment. You know, what is this, like the fourth highest or what? what is this? It's like one of the top highest grossing movies of all time.
Yeah. Fourth highest grossing movie worldwide. 24th, like in the U.S. adjusted for inflation.
That's insane.
Yeah,
and it made like over 1.5 billion on a $150 million budget.
So wow. So you know that going in when you watch it again, and you're like, how is this piece of shit worth that much money? And there's some fun to it. It's not like it's not a horrible movie, but it's just a horrible movie. It's just one horrible. There's like no character development. You're not invested in any of the characters. It cashes in. It gives you all the stuff you liked about Jurassic Park, which is just dinosaurs. And then it like ham-fisted all of this like really corny, overplayed action movie tropes with like the big bad military guy that just wants to use raptors for the military, because that makes total sense. You've got this like handler that loves these animals but like hates the establishment that he works for, which I think is so stupid. You've just got like the busy female protagonist that just doesn't have time for anybody. You have the two kids who are relatives of someone who works at the park being sent to the park and just getting lost. You've got like radio signals going out whenever they're convenient, just like in every movie, every action movie since. I mean, it's just so empty. Like at the end, when it all comes together, when they're saved, it's so empty. And like that end scene, that cheesy end scene, I don't know where the hell that comes from, where it's like dinosaurs ganging up on each other. And I think the movie is like, in a nutshell, there's a line in the movie that Bryce Dallas Howard gives when she's like talking to the investors. And she's like, oh, we're developing this new dinosaur. She's telling them about it. And no, I think she's talking to Chris Pratt, actually. And she's like, no one gets excited about a Stegosaurus anymore. And that was like the reasoning for why they have to build these bigger, better dinosaurs. And it's like, that's this movie. Like, no one's excited to see dinosaurs. Yeah.
It seems to be exactly self-referential, right?
It's so self-referential, yet it continues to shovel the same shit down our throats entire movie.
It's like, we're the same as every fucking movie. We're just a boring movie, a cash cow movie, and we're going to fill the rest of this movie like we've just told you what it is. So take it or leave it at this point. You get up and get out of the movie theater, or stick around for the horse shit that's coming next. And,
so I guess to their credit, they warned us in the beginning of the movie exactly what they were selling, right?
Right.
Yeah. I mean, so Jason, I don't know. I mean, not even Chris Pratt's like charisma could save this movie. I mean, he had those stares like so many times in this movie where it's like, he like just smelled the fart and he's like accusing you of it, like that inquisitive kind of like trying to figure you out stare, like way too many.
You don't know these animals. Yeah. You got to take care of these animals.
Yeah. Oh, Mr. Animal Guy, Mr. Animal Man.
Dude, I liked it. I went to go see it in theaters. I said it, Beth. Let's go see this because I remember seeing Jurassic Park and I want to see this new big shot movie. I remember seeing the trailers and being like, I don't think it's gonna be that great. And to me, I mean, in any objective, quote unquote, movie standards you have, it's not a great movie. There are a lot of flaws. Dialogue is really lacking. Character development is really lacking. And I think they kind of just are losing sight of the spirit of the first two Jurassic Parks. But all in all, I was entertained.
Yeah, so how after that statement could you say I like it?
I don't know. It was just it gets worse every time I see it. Right. Mainly because like it was just a good.
Does the product placement get to you?
No, fuck that. Get the fuck out of here. No, the CGI was legit, right? Like they definitely went all out on that, and I'd say I'm impressed, I guess, considering that like every dinosaur was CGI, they all looked good being CGI. I would say that's one big reason why I like it. I think the other big reason is it seemed way more popcorny and kitschy. Which again, on rewatches annoys me more and more, which is why it's getting worse and worse. Yeah. But the first time it was entertaining. But as I've seen it more times, like in comparison to what I feel like the original spirit of the original two Jurassic Park movies, it's diverging so much, and the next one doesn't look like it's going to get any better. So,
Yeah, like when I watched this in theaters, I was just supremely bored. There's just a lot of filler scenes here that just don't mean much. Like, I think back to what Jason said, I mean, to summarize it all, this movie just has zero heart. It's just a bunch of CGI on screen, and it's definitely entertaining as like a mindless kind of movie, you know, like a popcorn flick just to go and enjoy. But these movies, like you said, Sonny, just degrade over time. Like watch after watch, you find less and less to really appreciate about this movie. You just kind of end up nitpicking it every single time that you see it, and you start noticing the plot holes and
so many eye rolls too when you're watching.
I completely agree. I mean, we can start with the nitpicking, but it's just so stupid. And we talk about how like it's so self-referential, and like there are other movies like Cabin in the Woods that are clever about that. They comment on the genre, and they actually make fun of it, and you actually see it in the movie, and it pays off. But this movie, they constantly refer to like they're just making bigger and badder things, and they continue to do the same thing on the screen. And it's just like, yeah, we know this is a stupid movie, but here it is anyway, and deal with it. Or not even deal with it, but we hope you enjoy it, you know what I mean? But it's just a shitty movie, man. That's all.
I mean, so what I did like about the movie is I thought the park was beautiful. Like the park looked really cool. Whoever designed that, like the way it was, and that really cool like ride where you're going down the river and there's just like dinosaurs drinking out of the river. I thought that it was really like visually very pretty. But that was about it.
I think that the good thing about the first two movies is that the antagonist is not a particular individual. It is like the consequences of people's arrogance plus chaos, plus InGen, the corporation, right? Which in the second Jurassic Park, The Lost World, has kind of a face, but even then the face is not someone you can actively like you really hate. He's just kind of someone like who's just moving. He's like bringing the conflict, but he's not like the ultimate source and the thematic source of conflict in the movie. But in this, they made the Indominus Rex fine, which like the T-Rex, the Spinosaurus, the two T-Rexes, like they've been an antagonist, but like not the main threat. They've just been a part of the underlying threat and like the survival story. But then you also have in this movie Hoskins or whatever, and the entire raptor, like, yeah, let's use them for the military subplot. And all of a sudden, like, it just adds this weird dynamic that didn't need to be on screen. And even if it was, like, was significantly under fleshed out. You know, like it was virtually substanceless, and it was just like, here's the caricature of the InGen Corporation that now you can just look at and point at and hate, right? And wish ill will while you're watching the whole movie, which you didn't really have with the other two.
It was a monster escape movie rather than like a movie about people escaping a situation, basically. That's what it was.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, it ends up kind of being like a Godzilla movie, right? Like,
exactly.
Our T-Rex, the good T-Rex, whatever you want to call it, like ends up being our Godzilla to save us from these monsters on this park. It's kind of I don't know, disappointing that the film was constructed in that fashion. It just really kind of takes away from it.
That's probably the best way of putting it, right? Yeah. Like the difference between Jurassic Park and King Kong or Godzilla is that like, well, it's that the T-Rex you're not escaping from the T-Rex. You're escaping from an island full of plenty of things that want to kill you. The T-Rex being one of them.
Yeah,
exactly.
And it just also happens to save you at the end. But yeah.
I mean, just there's so many things that so many moments that you're just like, why? Like, I just don't get it. Like, why? This movie was like, just watching it is a formulated movie, like built in a lab. And they're like, these are the things that a huge blockbuster that's across, all languages, all countries. Everyone's going to like this. There's dinosaurs, there's people interacting with dinosaurs. And it's like,
I don't understand BD Wong's like his motivations to coming back
Right.
to this island. Like he's seen the destruction.
Yeah, what's his
and-
end game?
What's his end? I mean, I don't get it. You know what I mean? He wants
Science, dude.
Science. Yeah.
Just
I don't know.
some men just want to watch the world burn. Is this one of those men?
And like the owner of this park is almost too overzealous. Like overzealous to the point where he's an actual moron.
Yeah, but he's learning how to become a helicopter pilot.
Right. And he goes flying into the thing and then
Yeah.
lets loose like all these other flying dinosaurs. Like, so the movie, instead of giving us character moments, gives us moments with the dinosaurs fucking shit up.
Yeah.
I could have completely done without watching all those people being massacred by those pterodactyls. You know what I mean? Like, instead, you know, we got that, and then we got two super shallow characters where they tried to give us some sort of depth by insinuating at the beginning of the movie that there's some family troubles at home. That's why they're being sent away during Christmas time. And it's just like any way to like ham fist and quickly tell us character background just so they can get us to the action portion of the scene. So, I mean, you don't gain much from that. I mean, I think it suffers from the same thing that Transformers suffers from, which is just you're going in to just to watch a bunch of action, and it's a testament to like the CG now. Like we go to see CG rather than actual stories, I guess, in the summertime at least.
But I like what you said, though. I mean, the difference between Jurassic Park and Jurassic World when our characters get to the park. By the time our characters get to the park, I guess with the exception of, you know, Dr. Graham, is that his name? In Jurassic Park?
Grant.
No, not Grant, sorry. Man, why am I totally spacing out on this?
Jeff Goldblum's character?
Yeah, what's his name?
Ian Malcolm?
Malcolm, yeah. Maybe with the exception of him, like you know the motivations of, you know, Grant and Ellie going into the park and who they are and why they're there, and you know their research is getting funded for 3 years, so it's like they feel like an onus to go there. But in this movie, it's like whatever, these kids are just being shipped off, and that's it.
Right.
You know, it just kind of sucks. It kind of takes away from like the build up. You know, shit's gonna hit the fan when they get there. It's a Jurassic World movie. Like something's gonna go wrong. And already within the first 5 minutes, I've already figured out, yeah, I don't care what can happen to these kids. I hope one of them dies because it might make it kind of edgy. But that's it.
There's literally nothing interesting about those two characters.
Zero.
So you get no attachment to anything that really happens to them. When the Indominus attacks them, the only emotion you feel is just like, oh fuck, what's it gonna do to them? But as far as they're concerned, like, yeah, you couldn't care less, right? Yeah. Like if Lex or Timmy died, it would be kind of devastating.
Terrible,
but if one of these kids died, especially the older brother, you'd be like, we'll live.
Especially
the
the
little
older
brother will
brother.
live.
So douchey, and like his only interest in the movie was like girls, right? And
girls, yeah.
Even his little brother makes fun of him, like, why are you just staring at them? Go talk to them. And he doesn't do that once.
Yeah, that is the only thing interesting.
Yeah. And overall, with Chris Pratt's character, what do you guys think?
I did not like it. I like Chris Pratt. Chris Pratt is great. He played a really great Chris Pratt in this movie, which is, I guess, is what the character called for. But like, dude, you lost me right away when he's like being a zookeeper to these velociraptors. Like, the whole motif of their relationship in that movie just drove me nuts. Like, I mean, I get it. We're watching a movie that they pulled DNA from mosquitoes that were stuck in molasses from 65 million years ago. So we're stretching science and truth a little bit here, but oh my God, the fact that like this guy can like wrangle these things and control them on some level. Like, are you shitting me, man? Like that just immediately. And then of course, like, right when you get introduced to this idea with Chris Pratt's character, the military man comes in and he's like, yeah, I'm gonna put a collar on those damn things and send them out my troops. Like, what the fuck? Yeah.
I thought yeah, can I go?
Yeah.
Can I?
Yeah.
No, I think I thought his character, yeah, he was played pretty good, Chris Pratt. Even for Chris Pratt. And but I thought his character was just kind of shoddily written, like very shallow, not in the sense like not in any actual
Not his morals or something.
sense. More like the depth to the character was very shallow. And I thought the relationship with the Raptors was legit. Like I thought, it seems like that as far as Jurassic Park can go, that's kind of like the next evolution. But I think they undercut his actual like alpha status among that pack and as a real character with his dialogue. He just played someone so ignorant, and his riffing off of the military guy was just too cliched.
Way too
to
cliche.
give him like any real weight behind his like dominance over the Raptors, which if he had it would make it all the more meaningful in the end when Blue like helps him out and stuff, right?
Right.
But we kind of lack all of that, so you're just kind of like, oh yeah, that this is what's going to happen next. This is what's going to happen next. These are the plot beats. What were we going to say, Jay?
Have you ever tried to establish a relationship with a crocodile? Have you ever tried that? You think that could be achieved on any level?
No, but the crocs, they don't hunt in packs. They're much dumber than raptors.
Well, we
Have
also
you ever
really
trained a
don't know
dog,
if-
Jason?
We also really don't even know if raptors hunted in packs, do we?
Yeah, like
We just know they all died next to each other, which could mean like.
Okay, but we also know that they were only really like 3 feet tall. So
Yeah, exactly.
right. So it's how far do you want to take this, bro?
okay, that's a good point. That's a good point. But still, it just was cheesy, man. I mean, just like the way it was presented, it was, I don't know, man. It was so cheesy. And not only that, like he was like this raptor expert. And then they like call him in for this Indominus Rex. Is that what they called this new, this made up thing? So now like he doesn't even see the thing, but he's like an expert on it now. So he knows the behavior, and he knows everything about this animal. And I just like it doesn't make sense. Yeah, and the whole animal. You gotta, they're all animals. Like they're fucking dinosaurs, man. Just call them dinosaurs. It's not like a derogatory term for these animals. You can call them dinosaurs. It was just, I don't know, man. Everything about it just irked me, man.
So he's supposed to be like directly like analogous to the Kenyan hunter from the original Jurassic Park, who's like, the head game. The game master, whatever, of the park.
Oh yeah,
but
right, yeah.
This character isn't even fleshed out. You don't know like why he's qualified to be, training the raptors. Like, what is? I guess he's military trained. That's all we know. I don't even know if that's been clarified. But like, we know in the original Jurassic Park that the game, I'm not sure what his name. Let's call him the Kenyan. He's had like experience hunting. I mean, he's had first-hand experiences with these velociraptors and know how they hunt in packs. But like, we're just thrown Chris Pratt in this movie, and he's an expert because we see him throwing mice at the velociraptors, and they watch his hands move. Yeah, and he's doing a stupid clicker thing. And then, all right, yeah, guys, I'm sold. We get it. Chris Pratt is a boss. He's alpha. But
but the other guy is like there to hunt them. He's there for like security reasons.
Agreed.
Chris Pratt is there like to train them. But the assumption I made is he was like ex-military. That's what they were saying. There's like there's in the Navy at least there's like training programs for like dolphins and stuff like that. So it's like I kind of just assumed maybe he was in like one of those, and that's like why he's suddenly qualified for. Because if anyway, let's be honest about it. There is no right qualification for, a velociraptor. It's not like there's somebody out there, like resume, like he's been doing this for 35 years. No guy like that. But it's still, man, it was painful to watch.
No, but we know as much about Chris Pratt's backstory as we know about that other guy's from the first movie.
Yeah, but he wasn't like the central character. He dies.
But that's the point, right? Yeah. Like they didn't develop Chris Pratt's character at all. They just kind of told you, he's ex-military, and showed you some stuff that is just there to move the plot along. It doesn't like actually build any connection between you and Chris Pratt watching him command the Raptors and stuff, right?
Right.
It's just a new thing to worry about. Like, oh my God, he's got Raptors. That means he might lose control of them and something bad might happen if he does, right?
See,
it seemed like that was the whole purpose.
The movie would have been so much more interesting if any one of the main characters just died, right? Like they have plot armor for no reason, and I don't know, they have no valid reason to have the plot armor. Like the movie would have been more interesting if like Chris Pratt or Dallas, Bryce Howard, or even if one of the little kids just died.
Or at least got an arm bitten off, right?
Something, yeah. Some consequence. But none of that. You already know they're going to get him out scot-free, so the movie's no fun at all.
It makes me feel like anyone can survive this. You know, if all of those idiots can survive this, then anybody could. You know, then
well, except for all the people that died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
those are the ones that got like picked up by the pterosaurs or whatever those were.
And the poor assistant who like did nothing but try to
whoa.
watch those kids, and they just killed her off in like a grotesque fashion.
That was actually a little gratuitous. I didn't like that.
Yeah, and I didn't like the like close-ups of them, the pterodactyls like attacking the baby triceratops and stuff like that. I think that was like
that was actually kind of sad.
It's supposed to be like a comedy scene or whatever. They they do this little pan in, but I didn't find that funny or like amusing at all. I thought it was like really gross.
It goes to reality, man. This poor guy
It's real when dinosaurs get involved.
It's also like these dinosaurs are always hungry. Like they're fed pretty well, but like it just made it seem like they're just eating monsters. They just eat any single time that they have a chance to eat. You know what I mean?
I thought that too, man. The pterodactyls like just escaped their enclosure because they're getting attacked, and like, well, now they're like, I guess it's fair game. There's free food everywhere.
It makes no sense.
But how about that ending fight scene though? That was pretty cool, legit, right?
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
I was so happy that the T-Rex came out.
Me too. That was fun.
Like,
that's
kind of weird that somehow this dinosaur has lasted for 20 years.
Well, I mean, he can't run, so I guess that made a lot of sense because he was only running like 3.5 miles an hour because he couldn't chase down a chick running high heels. Yeah. And I guess flare guns, they're like cats with laser pointers. Like flares are just like, dude, if you ever have a pet T-Rex, that's the best way to train him is just give him those damn flare. They follow that thing around.
That's so funny. That's a good point. I will say I did like in the final scene when that big water dinosaur comes up and eats a Dromaeus Rex.
Dromaeus, yeah.
Yeah.
That was the coolest dinosaur in the movie. And you only see it twice when he's coming out of the water to eat stuff.
Yeah. The thing was huge, man. Holy shit.
It's a cool exhibit.
Do you guys want to talk a little bit about the nitpicks?
Yeah, please, can we?
Like the Dromaeus Rex.
How much time do we have?
Yeah.
Let's keep it short. But you guys talked a little bit about this on our Slack earlier today. The fact that they never noticed this thing could camouflage, right?
Yeah, his whole life. He's been in there his whole life.
Yeah.
Or her whole life, and not once.
It can hide its thermal signature somehow.
Yep.
That never came up.
Why is there always some fat asshole eating stuff while like shit's going down and he's like fumbling to touch buttons? He works there, you know. He should know what to do. And
you've done it a million times. This is not your first day at the park.
What I don't understand is they have. Sorry, Jason. You want to go? My bad.
No, you go.
Okay. Well, what boggles my mind is that they have that whole like 6-monitor system for tracking the thermal signatures, but the fucking chip that they implanted is like somehow they don't have the UIs hooked up, so they can't log in. The guy maybe lost his password or something, and he can't check the Indominus' status right there from that terminal.
But it's like they are all these cameras, so right when they saw the streak marks on the wall, and Chris Pratt's like, "Oh, what's that?"
Mm-hmm.
Why didn't they just like, all right, let's go to the footage and see what's up? And they would have saw this dinosaur go over, scratch the wall, and then walk back into the.
Or how about this? Are there any dinosaur prints outside? You don't see any of those. Then
exactly. I mean,
when his tracker, they would have looked at his tracker. It would still be like, why did it take so long to figure out? Like, all right, is it in or out? Let's find the tracker. And then again, that goes back to the poor radio signals. Like, nobody could get in touch with anybody. I don't know. They haven't run.
Why does she need to be in her car to make the phone call?
Exactly. Like, why is there any point in this whole park where there's bad receptions? Like, you're on an island filled with dangerous animals.
Yeah.
Freaking get your cell towers up, right?
Yeah, they got all that money for that big ass fish tank, but they have no money to put up cell towers, right?
Yeah, man. And I mean, they talk about how this Andromedas was spliced with like DNA from other animals too, but like
Indominus. You keep
Indominus.
saying Andromedus.
Andromedus.
Indominus.
Indominus. Like, did they splice it with Einstein's DNA too? Because this thing knew exactly where its tracker was and was able to rip it out with its short arms. I don't understand how it was
It's
able
like
to do that.
surgical precision.
No, it's got long arms.
Oh, does it? So they expanded
It's
its
got like
arms
raptor arms.
to
Yeah.
make it even more dangerous.
Yeah.
So smart.
It's honestly, they did a great job with the actual dinosaur. It looks scary as fuck.
Yeah.
You know, it was big. It was like definitely wild, and way more feral than like any of the other dinosaurs we've seen, right? So I thought that was cool.
What about its communication ability with other velociraptors?
That was stupid as fuck.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's got a little bit of. So can he communicate with cuttlefish? Because he's got some cuttlefish DNA in him too. So could he assemble an army of cuttlefish as well?
Yeah, he's got he shits out black ink. You didn't see that?
It's just like what the hell? And again, going back to the doctor, it's like the mad scientist trope. Like what was he doing? Like, and why was this such a secret? Nobody knows what's in this dinosaur except for one guy in this like multi-billion-dollar park with all these like nobody knows what's in this dinosaur.
Not to mention, this is the same scientist who came up with the lysine contingency in Jurassic Park, so these animals could not, get out of hand. But this dude makes them more dangerous each single iteration. Which doesn't make any sense.
That would have been a really cool movie if they explored him and like maybe his past.
Yes.
And he's been double crossed, and he's like, you know what, fuck this park. I'm gonna wreck shit. But like they didn't explore that at all. That would have been a really fun story.
Or even his relationship to InGen, because they kind of hinted that Hoskins and Wong, they have like, they remember at one point they called each other, right? Hoskins called Wong and said like, wrap it up, the shit's going haywire, and there's not going to be an InGen, so yeah, pack up everything. But they didn't explore at all any possible relationship he might have had with the company, or how like they were developing military technology, right? Like how maybe the Raptor program was designed from the get-go to be a training program, right? They reveal that. Or we learned that the Indominus Rex was a military experiment at producing, genetic hybrid dinosaurs that could be used in battle or something, right? Like they could have even tried dangling something else to even just try to have more of a story. Right. More of a story that people could care about. And they didn't. Complete waste. Wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
If they're setting up a trilogy, and it sounds really crazy to say, but if they're setting up a trilogy, they should have not had as much action and just really started focusing on like the people that we're going to be, going on this ride with for the next few movies. Like, we're going to go in this next movie, and do we know anything more about these characters, or is there anything...
As much as we want that to happen, why would they change their formula? They made over $1 billion with this movie.
Yeah, I know. It's
they're change any of it up.
Yeah.
It's I don't know. It's kind of crazy that the first movie in a trilogy is so bad. You know what I mean? Like usually that's a franchise killer, but if anything, this has been propelled to like I don't know. This might be like the new Star Wars. That might be all one-offs and all sorts of different movies popping up for this entire franchise.
Yeah, it just was depressing, especially like because we're watching it, comparing it to Jurassic Park. We're kind of watching it, keeping both of these movies in mind, and it's just like, oh man, they could have. Like, I guess we could. I really wanted to ask you guys too, like, what you really wanted out of this movie before going in. Like when you heard there was a new Jurassic Park movie, and I was really hoping that they would kind of go in the direction of like, let's put feathers on the dinosaurs and see what happens. I don't know, like just kind of change it up a little bit. They allude to it in the first movie, so it could be like that connection to Dr. Grant in the first trilogy. And I don't know, they could just like developing the genes further, whatever it may be. And it would have been kind of cool, kind of jarring to see dinosaurs, but not the typical dinosaur that we're used to, and seeing velociraptors with feathers on them. And it would have just, I don't know. I thought it would have been cool to take a different route rather than just, this is the park, it's really crazy, things get out of their cage and people are going to die. And it was just like, why? I mean, why? We already had 3 of those. Can we do?
Yeah, I mean, maybe I'm just cynical now, but I mean, I wasn't expecting much more than what I saw from this movie. I literally thought it would just be a reboot and we'd see some of the same plot beats that we saw in the first Jurassic Park, but with more special effects. Like, I've essentially given up on Hollywood and their creativity, so wasn't expecting much out of this movie, to be completely honest.
They're just gonna pull Force Awakens and just redo everything.
I was gonna say that, like, I was about to say that I almost would have been happy if they really did try remaking Jurassic Park, like, and actually having a decent story and almost like beat for beat copy. But then I was like, no, but I keep ragging on The Force Awakens for being exactly that. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't have. Yeah, I probably wouldn't have enjoyed it as much as I think I would have. But this movie just had so much lacking.
No, but I mean, based on what you said, from what Jurassic Park sets up, it's a great movie. I mean, the story is great. Like, it fits into the story they're trying to tell really well. I don't think. I mean,
it doesn't though. I don't think it adds anything to it. I think it references it, but it doesn't bring to the table anything unique of its own.
You mean
like
Jurassic Park?
Jurassic World.
Okay, I was talking about
Sorry, what were you saying?
I was talking about Jurassic Park. I mean, like, you're saying they could have made a better story and completely remade it, but I felt like the original story within Jurassic Park was really great. I mean, the premise that it set forth and, you know, the series of events that takes place in that movie was really well presented and executed.
Yeah.
I don't know how you'd improve upon that a la Force Awakens. Like, what more could they have added to kind of redo Jurassic Park and make it a better movie?
Oh, just an actual story and actual characters we cared about.
Okay.
Well,
all right.
Or they could have gone like really crazy and had like maybe both, like maybe Ellie and Dr. Grant are both women, and it's like a lesbian couple, and like it's just a very progressive, very forward-thinking family units, you know, and it's like a way for the kids to kind of learn about, you know, alternative lifestyles. So I think they could have really done something cool with it, very progressive. They went with this safe choice.
Well, what they really needed were some trans species characters, people who identified as dinosaurs.
That's why I keep calling Andromedus Rex.
Androgynous Rex?
That's what you really mean, yeah, androgynous Rex.
Well, hey, I mean, they did change sex in the first movie, right?
That's true. Nature finds a way.
Yeah.
Am I right?
Life finds a way.
Life finds a way, yeah.
All right. Any more thoughts, guys?
I did like just one of the few times I laughed or I thought was kind of cool was how that guy was wearing the Jurassic Park T-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
he was like, that's kind of offensive, and then you like think about it and you're like, yeah, oh my god, that is pretty crazy. That's like that's like weird, like someone wearing a shirt of some like one of the Malaysian airline planes that like has a pretty fucked up, you know? Yeah, so it is kind of a fucked up movie.
That's fucking hilarious.
That's hilarious, Jason. All right.
Yeah, I was gonna say I looked it up. So the new movie's coming out, and I think next June.
Yeah.
Principal photography only took 1 month. Okay, as in they finished filming the movie within 30 days.
Wow.
So think about like what that must mean about what we're gonna see in that movie.
High value.
If they could fit every scene into 30 days, like it's either
it's all
boilerplate,
yeah,
dialogue, or it's all gonna be CGI, or both.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I really don't even know what to expect from a sequel from this movie, right?
Yeah, they don't set up like what's gonna happen next. They don't set up any. Well, I don't know, but the truth is, Jurassic Park didn't either. Like you didn't really see a sequel coming after that, did you?
No, but actually, I mean, I want to talk a little bit about that. I really enjoy the sequels to Jurassic Park. They're not the best movies, but they kind of double down on the mysterious island, escape from the big monster kind of, tropes or whatever. And maybe more than the second movie, I think what's the third one called?
Jurassic Park 3.
The Lost World.
The Lost World or whatever. I thought
Lost World was the second one.
Yeah.
Well, the third one I thought was a really fun movie.
Yeah, I like that.
And that movie explores a little bit more about feathers on the raptors, and Grant comes back to that movie and he actually communicates with the raptors better than Pratt does in this movie.
Wait, are you talking about
Alan.
the scene where, yeah. That's like one of the biggest scars on that franchise, and I like that movie a lot too. But then I always cringe at that scene. You're like, what the fuck is that?
Hey man, it beats clicking at the fucking raptors. All right?
Looking at the raptors, yeah. When they're both doing exactly what you want them to do, and when they're not listening to you, it didn't make any sense what the significance of the clicking is.
And it seemed to be like no rhyme or reason to the clicking. It was just constant clicking. It wasn't like 2 clicks for food. 3 clicks for stop. Just click.
Nothing. He's literally, they just like, hey, click this when you're talking to the dolls.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I guess that comes from his dolphin training. I think they use those clickers to train dolphins too.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, but sorry to derail you from what you're talking about, Sonny. Yeah, man, based on what you said, I really have no idea. I'm hoping that there's at least some more depth, and it's just not Transformers 2 a la Jurassic Park for this movie as well. So,
who's the director?
Not the same guy, but the same guy who directed this is writing this new one.
Oh my god!
Great.
So it's gonna be terrible.
Terrible.
Awesome. Any other thoughts, guys?
Nah.
No.
All right.
No, just one good movie and one bad movie.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in today's episode. We will catch you guys next time when we discuss Star Wars A Force Awakens, Sonny's favorite Star Wars movie. And I cannot wait for that episode. We're going to be doing a lot of ramping up towards The Last Jedi, which is coming out in December. So expect a lot more Star Wars content from us. We're pretty pumped about that movie as well. So I'm Akash, and before we sign out, nocampspodcast.podbean.com. Email us at nocampspod@gmail.com. And you can also reach us on Twitter at nocampspod. All right, Sonny, you want to shout out your Twitter today? Or
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. At Sunny, SUNNY _ Gunna, GONNA.
Yay.
Oh man! All right.
Boom.
Jason will get a Twitter in about a year or two. So we'll have that for you then.
It's waiting for it to not be cool anymore. Then I'll get one.
All right, guys. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see y'all next week.
Peace.
Bye.
Guys, I cannot wait to show you what I made. On Saturday, I had that birthday party.
Yeah.
With a friend.
Yeah.
And we made clay.
Me or
things.
another friend? Another friend. Because I had a birthday on Saturday too.
Oh.
What are you? Oh, you're another friend. You're another friend.
Yeah. Sorry, Mr. Passer.
Oh yeah. Is this the guy Super Sweet 16? The whole weekend bash. Oh, yeah.
So, over the 2 days we made clay pottery, but
wow.
I didn't make any pottery. I made a little Jabba the Hutt about this big, this tall. Yeah, I mean, I need to go back in and get it glazed, but then and then fired in the kiln. But you guys are in for a little bit of a treat.
It sounds pretty lazy, actually. Like it's just kind of like you just roll a big blob and kind of shape it. Like it sounds like a pretty lazy.
Yeah. Okay.
Lazy one on your part. Like
Yeah. We'll see.
you could have made something with legs or teeth, but you made like a big blob, like a big round, like really fat snake. Like you weren't even.
That's great feedback.
The effort of like skinning down the snake.
I appreciate that feedback.
Yeah, I can make one too. I can make a Jabba head out of a piece of paper. But I look forward to it.
I'm putting this little snippet at the end of the episode. This is gold.
Oh man! No, but I really do look forward to it. It looks sounds cool.
Fuck you.
Cool.